Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Samrat Kishor. I welcome you once again to the Baseline Show in India. Today, thank you so much for all the love and updates that we keep getting on social media. We are also seeing a lot of traffic on the website, on the new and improved website. Thanks to Mark and his initiatives on the outreach. Thank you once again for all the new community members who've joined us on the mission to build Baseline as an open source protocol and a leading standard for data synchronization using privacy. We are at the brink of adoption by a lot of companies. There are tons of queries that we get as part of our outreach initiatives. We are also attending events now, representing Baseline protocol, and here is a change. So it's not one sponsor or one company coming together to build something. It is a whole lot of companies coming together. 15 sponsors are there, and there are many more companies which are participating, and there are individuals who are participating in personal capacity who are building this together, and we are seeing amazing uptake. So thank you once again. I couldn't thank enough the community which has brought us so far, and those people who are joining us now who will take us ahead from here. I could not do the show since some time. I was not well for some time, so please bear with me on that. But definitely, I'm going to cover a lot of updates today, including the updates from outreach. Mark has a fantastic update. We are going to a huge event in the US. Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, this is the Fintech Conference that's going to be happening August 23rd through the 26th in Denver, Colorado. Baseline submitted a proposal for a speaker slot, and we were very enthusiastically received. I mean, a lot of people are like, "Oh, Baseline, yes, absolutely." And so it's my understanding that we were, chosen in the first slate of submissions that have come through. So a lot of people are really excited to hear more about it. I'll be giving a, really a high to medium level talk about really what Baseline is, what it isn't, and how it can derive value within, multi-party process environments where people need to share their data, but they can't either by their security profile or because of data privacy compliance. So how do I go ahead and get this done? So we're like, we can prove consistency through zero knowledge that none of your data will ever leave your enterprise or your system of record. But you can prove that your data set and your workflows are in sync with all of your internal as well as your external counterparties. So this has really gotten a lot of attention, not only from of course the technical side, but really encouraged with a lot of the interest that we've gotten from the business domain. I think for a long time with a lot of new technology, most of our advancement comes from CTO on down.
Yeah.
And in a lot of times, a lot of those there's a lot of crowded noise, really, that the CTO or a CIO or a CISO would have to endure because they're getting pitches for new ideas, from all sides and stuff.
Absolutely. And Mark, it feels, yeah, it almost feels like a micro win each time somebody says, "Oh yeah, baseline. I know baseline. I've seen the show, or I've been to an event where somebody was talking about baseline, or I've heard Vitalik talk about baseline." So it's I think for us, especially we've come so far, 2 years in time, and so many hours of thinking and implementing things. It really feels like a microwave each time somebody recognizes what's happening in baseline protocol, and also the potential that it brings to systems of record if they're capable of baselining and synchronizing in a way that we envisage. Awesome. This is amazing. Any more updates that you have, Mark, from the outreach group? How many people now who are attending regular calls?
Well, regular calls we're averaging about 15 to 20. we're probably about
Massive, yeah.
yeah.
There's a massive increase from, let's say, three or five that we used to be.
Well, yeah, and no, I would say three or five that are in the studio, but then we have so many people that are tuning in on the YouTube live stream
Yeah.
as well. So um, really, really encouraged by a lot of the feedback we've gotten. We've updated our website and, because it's a constant improvement. And stay tuned for and watch that space because even more are coming. Um, we've also really expanded the outreach team to really include some subgroups that are working on baseline research as far as okay, what is around the next corner, what's over the next hill, and so we want to be able to address that because it's getting a lot of traction, it's getting a lot of attention right now, and uh, we want to put our best foot forward so that when someone comes in and asks us a question, and say where do I go to start getting baseline, that we can give them some multiple options of
Right.
letting them move that to fruition.
Right. And then that's where our core devs are busy heads down, building stuff that people can use and start baselining. I've just displayed the baseline protocol website. Go to baseline-protocol.org. You'll get very important buttons. You'll get a button called Get Involved and Get Baseline. So if you want to get involved, build baseline with us, do join us. The Slack community is super active. We are super responsive on Twitter, LinkedIn, everywhere. So do find us there. If you want to get baseline, if you're a software company, if you're anywhere close to supply chains, do explore baselining and hit get baseline. One of us will be in touch with you. It typically goes to the sponsors, and they help you get baseline as soon as possible. As Mark always says, how do I get baseline by next Friday?
We're
Well,
gonna get baseline by next Friday.
yeah, you can ask that question when you hit that button. So that's all. Do keep tuning into these baseline shows. There's a international show which we do. It's a global show which we do Wednesdays noontime EST, and we do baseline protocol office hours in India. It's baseline show in India. We do it every Thursday at 6 p.m. India time. um, and we invite special guests like Shailesh. So that brings me to our special guest for tonight. Today, Shailesh Joshi. He's a seasoned finance professional. Has played CFO and finance controllers roles in the past. He's had consultant hat, so he used to work for KPMG in the past, and he's also been on the industry side. So he knows stuff from both sides of the world, and he's also been advisor to a lot of CEOs of very well funded startups, as I know him. Shailesh, I would leave you to introduce yourself and tell us a little more about your professional life, what you've done so far, and what do you do in your current roles. And then we're just going to ask you some questions around. I know this is absolutely extemporary for you. There is absolute no prep that we've done, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see that we remain in your comfort zone.
Sure, sure. You'll have to excuse me for the background noise if at all.
It's fine. I know. Yeah. You, thank you so much for making it, even while being elsewhere.
No worry. Hi everyone, and I've known Samrat I think for 12 years now, and I want to compliment him on the fantastic.
You have to be a little louder, little
Tech.
louder. The
Yeah,
music is louder than you, actually.
is it better now?
Yeah, better, much better.
So hi everyone, and so just to introduce myself, I'm a qualified chartered accountant from India, and then last 12 to 15 years I've been working across audit function, then going into financial reporting, and then partnering with business. And you know, from a day-to-day accounting, I moved out with business FP&A side of things, and which has actually exposed me a lot of time to the data related problems. And I've been consulting Samrat on and off. Back in the day, Samrat was with my guru version when I was actually auditing one of India's biggest ticketing portals. And the key reason was, how do I reconcile the payment gateway with the disbursement payout? because the time frequency for both these cycles are separate. So for me, it's been fantastic 12 years to learn or 15 years to learn that how exactly, you know, companies have evolved their business processes, from a traditional business reporting framework to ERPs, and then all the more now going into the SaaS, where you've got a solution for almost everything. But then interesting problems come alongside. Uh, unless you have prepped up enough, uh, and the community. I mean, unless you look
Yeah,
out for community outreach, understand how what are the best practices which leaders have been adopting, and probably, and sometimes leaders are following the start. So kind of amazing for me to see how the cross section of businesses have
right,
evolved,
right.
especially from the financial side of things.
Yeah. In fact, Shailesh, you brought forward a very interesting case of that ticketing company. And Mark, very interestingly, this was the company which introduced online ticketing to India.
Oh wow.
And Chalish used to be the statutory auditor. And I mean, yeah, I was also doing some part of the audit, but that was just the tech side. But as it turns out, Chalish used to come back. We used to, because it was in another city, so we used to stay in the same hotel. We just come back and have a chat. Oh, you know what? This is a technology company. You should be auditing it. I should not be here, and stuff like that. So, and I was like, oh, I don't know jack shit about finance. I should not be the one auditing it. It's your job. So eventually we ended up doing it together, and a lot of stuff came out. But as he rightly pointed out, there was a massive effort. There was a huge team who was just doing reconciliation between the payments which have come from the payment gateway. So the transactions which have happened, reconciling that to the payment gateway payouts. It's a typical problem any e-commerce company would have. Of course, in those days, this is what 2009,
Yeah, 2009.
2009, 10 roughly. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, payment gateways were new, hacks were happening, this online ticketing was new, and while all that was happening, what we really saw was yes, there is this whole new problem of reconciling two or three data points from two or three different disparate systems which cannot connect to each other and talk automatically. So there was only one way to do it, or two ways to do it. One was hire a human being or multiple human beings who just keep doing that, or invest a ton of money into building a new system, which will give you a sense of reconciling. But even you need human beings to monitor that new system also. So yeah, that was something which thanks Shailesh for refreshing that memory of mine. It's yeah, that was a case study in my life, right? True, true, true. So, Sharish, in your roles, first of all, let's start with your role as a consultant. Because when you were doing consulting, you had, clients in India, so Indian gap, and then UK gap, and Australia gap. You've seen those different geographies of clients, and you help them do their statutory stuff. So, by virtue of that, you also have a sense of what were the efficiencies and inefficiencies in various industries and companies that you were working for, and if they had, let's say offices in India or so-called back offices in India, what were the guys really doing? I have been telling on the same show that I have seen companies which have 400 people sitting just doing reconciliations or data consolidation of multiple systems. Beat
Yeah.
that.
So, no, I get it. So basically, see, Samrat, what has happened is that we, there has been adoption of information systems, but then I think the whole approach towards digitization has been very scattered and on a case-to-case basis.
Fragmented, yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that is what I have understood. If I
yeah,
have to look at the bigger picture, every department wants to digitize, and they tend to start their initiative, and what happens at the end of the day as an auditor or as a financial reporting person,
yeah,
for me to get a comfort on the entire enterprise level data set, it becomes important that I should have a 360 delivery, right?
yeah,
If let's say I were to be auditing probably a bank, then I need to be or probably anyone for that matter, needs to be sure of okay, what are the six advices which are still in transit.
Right.
Just give you one example, which used to be very vulnerable until now, in India particularly, which has been now come under which has recently been brought under regulation. But back in the day, it used to be something which could be there partner account. And as a
Right.
financial holding or a control person, it used to be a special
Right.
mission. Yes.
Do you think it is? Do you think it was happening because of CFOs like yourself, or maybe non-IT literate CFOs? Because what I felt was, in my consulting days, I used to talk to clients and I used to look at those fragmented systems that you're talking about, which were departmental initiatives, and it turned out that the CFO wanted them to stick to their budget, so they just did what was good for their department, so that they could just meet their budget and they could get things in the next year's budget, etc., etc., etc. So nobody was really looking at a high level view of what's really happening with this data which is getting generated in various departments. They're just looking at it and storing it. So eventually ending up in a silo. That's what the real problem, in my opinion, was.
So actually, there are two things to look at. One are the legacy businesses. So they've got a different set of problems, and startups or the novelty businesses, they've got a different set of problems. If I were to look at legacy businesses, what's happening is they've taken the ERP approach, a lot of them, enabled to a bit to computerize. But what has been the case is adoption by some of the departments uh, has been very, I'll say, rigorous, and they followed the protocols pretty seriously. Some
Yeah.
of the departments, I mean, if I were to look at financial, I think financial accounting has taken the adoption very seriously.
Right.
However, if I were to look at probably a stores or consumables department,
Right.
for them it is just an inventory logging system, right? So they've not really, they've just adopted the system as it is.
Yeah.
In name of computerization, what they thought it to be is okay, probably you just replace it with the hard registers to the computerized system without really adding much value while the system was being developed.
Yeah.
So that is for the legacy businesses.
Yeah.
Coming on the startup side, I think what has happened is, I'm talking more about recent 4 or 5 years. Uh, so there the approach has been different. They've been adopting SaaS solutions, and every department has got their own SaaS.
Hmm.
Everyone wants to go with the best vendor, right?
Yeah.
If you look at payroll processing, they'll want to go with the best. If I were to look at reimbursement, they'll want to go with the number A vendor. Now what happens is you've got multiple systems running within the umbrella,
Yeah.
but then and these are all different layers, right? All different softwares, all different licenses. To if I were to look at more like a finance guy, then to what extent are these SaaS solutions which are being used by different teams? I think example, if I were to take is let's say a payroll software which
Yeah.
has got a mapping of your team in zone A, zone B, zone C. And all of a sudden, the GTM team realizes, okay, probably move one of the guys from BD to, let's take him as an A, right? You might map him in the payroll. Uh, I mean, so what happens is, I'm talking about a case study here, which I've totally connected. That sales team or GTM team actually, what they did was the CRO did some reshuffling in his team, and he just thought, okay, maybe I'll just tweak my team in the Salesforce, and he did that. Now, what was happening there was an incentive software which they were into SaaS,
Yeah.
and then another SaaS for payroll processing. Now, how the plans were configured for a BD and how the plans are configured for an A are two separate things. Now, the payroll register never really got updated because
Yeah.
there was an employee, there was never a formal exit for that. It was just a redesignation of the guy from geography A to geography B. However, his plan was to change.
Hmm.
And come the quarter end, and we had a long argument.
Yeah.
How do you change his plan in a bad day? Right?
Yeah.
That's a very recent example I've taken, and I could give you countless examples.
Yeah.
if I were to talk about supply chain finance, it's a problem. It's a big time problem.
Yeah, supply chain finance. That's our friend. Let's talk about supply chain finance.
Yeah, so I mean, look at it from the ecosystem participant point of view. You've got a bank, you've got a shipping company, you've got a consigner, you've got a consignee.
Yeah,
All of them have their own system. All of them, and probably a lot of sub vendors in between, right? A lot of sub vendors in between. Probably a Fortune 500 company outsources their AR functions to their vendors. Then
yeah.
the consignee company outsources
Okay,
another.
somebody on YouTube is saying that you need to speak a little louder.
Oh,
Tom,
sorry.
Tom is my voice okay? Shailesh, you need to speak a little louder. Sorry.
Sure. No,
Maybe
no worries.
people stare at you, but you're a celeb. You're on YouTube. Go ahead.
Sure. So, is it better?
Yeah, just speak at the top of your voice. Just do that.
Okay, okay. So, see, what I'm saying is, in the supply chain finance, the number of participants have been ever increasing.
Yeah,
It's not really just a seller and buyer relationship anymore. You've got consigner, consignee, shipper, and then probably quality control guy somewhere in middle, and a lot of functions are broken, subcontracted, right? So
yeah,
in such a system, it is very important to one platform. I mean, just think of it as a holiday trip, right? How do you set up a WhatsApp group just to sort out all your plans? Who is booking the tickets? Who is booking logistics? Who is booking
yeah.
hotel? So
Fantastic example.
yeah, it's a small holiday trip we want to arrange.
Yeah,
Think of business doing, I mean, countless transactions in a day, and then think of a package in a package, then consolidation of package, and then
Hmm.
how do you finance that? Who is the person who is going to take ownership of the document? A shipper
Yeah,
will
yeah.
also, and then endorsements of documents. So it's complicated. So personally, I feel bigger the problem, interesting technological solutions have to come out.
Right, right, absolutely. And I hope that baseline protocol will serve in solving some of these most complex problems in supply chains and supply chain financing as well. Shailesh, and talk a little more about your CFO experience. Where do you see data silos really hitting the rational decision making, or from your recent experience with a unicorn, very well funded startup. Can we name companies? I mean, we generally name companies, but we give a disclaimer that whatever Shailesh is talking about today on this show is his personal opinion, and his opinions are based out of his own research. It has nothing to do with his previous or present employers. That's our disclaimer we give. And then, Shailesh, you can
I
express
have
your, yeah. You anyway
I have
speak
a
yours, right?
yes, yes, I'm with you. So actually, there's a confidentiality agreement, frankly. So
Yeah.
I'll want visitors to go up, check me out on LinkedIn. Probably they'll get to know me, but that's not really covered.
You were financial controller at one of the biggest logistics SaaS providers. Um,
Right.
what do you see? What do you see as the biggest data silos? Which, if those silos were opened, then either you will end up saving costs, let's say in efficiencies, or you would end up making better decisions, or you would end up having shorter workflows. Do you see any of those opportunities?
I think specifically speaking, and so not really just referring to my current employer organization, but generally, I think logistics is something which is big opportunity for data. I mean, to use data, frankly speaking. Um, four of the biggest companies have come together in
Hmm.
commodity, which are dealing in hard commodities, to exchange data. I think that's a testament enough
Hmm.
to prove that how important it is to share
We'll
information,
talk a little more
especially
about that. That
about.
company is okay. We take company names here, so you can talk about
Yeah,
company.
so it's a public news, by the way. I mean, the four of the biggest commodity traders in world, Cargill, Louis Dreyfus, they have actually come together for a platform to exchange data. Right? So whenever for a counterparty information sharing,
Okay.
and it's coincided with the platform, they've co-promoted all four of them.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. So consortia are the way to go, right?
So, yeah, absolutely. So at the moment, just the four companies are on board. Each one of them have 1,000 members, probably more than that. I mean, absolutely more than that. I'm just saying because these are multi-billion-dollar companies.
Yeah.
It has to be more than around 100K vendor with each of them. How do we brought them? How do we bring them on the platform?
Right.
Every time they do a trade, they are consolidating, they are shipping out, and then they've got for customers, probably Fortune 500 food companies.
Right.
So how do you bring all of them on that platform so that we've seen supply chain issues like Evergreen getting stuck in Suez Canal, or probably Gulf of Mexico.
Who
Huge,
hasn't
huge,
seen
huge,
evergreen memes? Everybody has seen evergreen memes.
correct. And then Nike having tough time thanks to lockdowns in Thailand.
Yeah.
And then what say if there was to be another typhoon in Gulf of Mexico? And how do you take your load onto the west coast instead of east coast? So
Hmm.
supply chain, I think it's such a dynamic function. And now I've just touched upon supply chain, but when you bring in finance on top of it,
Yeah.
trade finance side of things, then you are talking real
Yeah.
data.
Yeah. That's a big rabbit hole. We go in that rabbit hole. Each of those baseline shows. Tell me, Shailesh, and here is something which I'm asking from a lot of our conversations in the past where we try and explore things from various industries. And since you've got this. Okay, somebody's saying there's party in the background. Thank you. So it's actually Shailesh. Shailesh agreed to join us at the last minute because another speaker backed off, and Shailesh is in a cafe because of us. So please bear with that background noise. So coming back to my question, Shailesh, it was we at times what we do is um, we talk about supply chain finance and trade finance, and then we also talk about inefficiencies, and we talk to various industry experts who we call on the show about what are their views on inefficiencies. But you, as let's say in the past, a financial consultant and a CFO and a financial controller also, what do you see in the cost of that inefficiency? Do you have any metrics which you in the past used to measure those inefficiencies, or what did you see as real game changers if you flipped a certain process, if you shortened a certain process? Was there any gains? Tangible stuff that you saw. Because why I'm saying this, because we are conducting within Baseline Group, we are actually paying a big company, big amount of money to conduct research for us to bring out inefficiencies in data reconciliation processes. So yeah, I mean, let's talk on those lines.
I mean, think about it like this. So, the biggest investment which businesses, most of the time businesses do is the working capital, right? And if you can have systems, hello, I'm audible, Samrat? Hello,
We can hear you.
I can't hear you. Okay, okay.
Sorry, I was
So
talking on mute. We
what
can
I'm
hear you.
saying is, what I'm no worries, no worries. So what I'm saying essentially is, Samrat, to touch your point, that the biggest investment which business tends to do nowadays is working capital, right? And if you were to have proper system, I'm talking about from my personal experience, and this is something which I've done. We were able to bring our DSO down by half, and then not really half. Another quarter, we were at 20% of our working capital, and the reason was our invoices were not getting delivered. And I used to always have a we always used to have a big data amount sitting with us. If we were to do a data reconciliation with
Hmm.
our, and I'm talking about two of biggest EPC companies in India.
Okay.
They have Flagbear for
Multi-million
Kishor,
projects.
multi-billion actually. But
Multi-billion.
though numbers for us were small. But the issue here that is, if you are dealing with a big company and you are sending out account statements
Yeah.
which are not tied,
Yeah.
and let's say you were working on 4 or 5 projects, what tends to happen is all 4 or 5 projects are written up. Now your payment is going to get stuck for all 4 or 5 projects until you reconcile the first management they had in place. But then, uh, just by processes a bit, we were able to recover that. So there were no reconciling items.
Right.
Just using our
Right.
mailers, just using our
Yeah.
mailers to send it to the right people.
Interesting. Interesting. Any tangible numbers or percentages that you can think of?
I mean, 80% working capital we were able to
Oh, that's huge.
yes, 80%.
Yeah. And imagine that for a small company.
And being on the inside as a finance controller, it gave me a lot of comfort on my cash flow. I mean, that is what was key for me
Yeah.
as a person of interest, because we were flush with funds. I mean, not that we were running short on funds, but what was the issue was churning the cash, the cash rotation rate. Because once you tend to hit number one or two with two of your best accounts,
Yeah.
then you are looking at bad in terms of cash flow.
Very interesting. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff we're trying to solve here at Baseline. Um, so, Mark, do you have any questions for Shailesh today? Yeah, I mean, the kind of stuff that he's telling us, it's funny. So, Shailesh and I go a long way back, and we were like, he was sort of the reason, not sort of, he was actually the reason I joined KPMG. He was the one who dragged me there. And and we've been chatting on issues like these since a very long time now. I mean, it's been so many years. It's been over a decade that we've had these chats, and we've tried to find solutions for ourselves, for our clients, for the startups we advise. So yeah, it's just amazing how this while new kind of systems and new technologies keep growing, at times the problems are not changing. The problems with CFO at times, they just pile on. The old ones are not going away.
I mean, think of influencer marketing. So, I mean, that's the new problem I personally see. Influencer marketing is one thing, and then gamification and probably
Louder, louder,
limited.
louder, slightly louder. I can't hear you.
Better now?
Yeah, you just speak at that volume.
I have to stick my mouth. Okay. So basically, what I'm saying is with the influencer marketing growing leaps and bounds, interesting problem which I personally see is the disbursement of the commissions.
Yeah,
If let's say we were to have a gamification, you have to think of a layer which is not there. Then you are looking at a problem which does not exist, and you have to
right,
solve it. There's no point solving a problem which has happened. Then you are
right.
just addressing a problem at time.
Yeah, yeah. And Shailesh, do you also have any view of, let's say, and this is not particular to any one industry. This we can talk about the various industries that you've seen in your career. Uh, do you see any data silos? So, any opportunities which are missed because data is not shared between, let's say, two competing companies or companies in one industry? Um I think banking, for that matter. I mean, this is just my opinion because I follow a lot of developments on the banking side and fintech side. But I feel that to some extent they've started sharing information intelligence around risk. So, do you think are there any other opportunities which are missed because competitors are not sharing data, or industry players are not sharing enough data, or they are not capable of sharing data?
I think insurance again. I mean, so if you look at the whole BFSI, banking has probably moved a bit, but then insurance still has to. Premiums are still expensive. If there was to be data sharing, I'm sure insurance will become a lot more cheaper, a lot more accessible, and at the end of the day, a lot more profitability.
Yeah.
Not only as a user, but as a business as well.
Okay, interesting. And
If they
insurance
were to
happens to
share,
be,
if they were to share data, I believe insurance could be cheaper, and then we could have a wider base to cover.
yeah. So insurance happens to be Mark's favorite topic, healthcare and insurance, because of his background. And but I would just say one thing, if I were to ask you a question on, let's say, if let's say I claim I have a no claim bonus on my car, I get insurance on my car, and I have a no claim bonus because I was behaving well on the road, I do not have any crashes. So is there a central body where they can authenticate this? I mean, if I move on to my next policy, I today the no claim bonus acts as a lock-in, right? It's a way of not letting go my old policy. But is there a way I could just carry it forward to my next policy? Is there any central body? Mark, this is also a question to you. I don't know.
As far
Not
as
I
are you
know.
talking your car insurance or are you talking your health insurance?
No, I'm talking about car insurance, for example. Just
So
car.
you have. So are you renewing?
And this is one parameter. I just took this as an example that there is a no claim bonus which is attached to my policy because I had no claims in the past year. And the insurance company today uses that as a lock-in for me, right? I don't have I mean, it will not be financially wise for me to leave that and go to the next policy because the benefit will not be as
Let,
great as
let
the
me let me bring let me bring another aspect in this one.
yeah, yeah.
Overspeeding tickets. How many overspeeding tickets I have should
Overspeeding,
directly be
exactly. Yeah.
proportional to should be
Or
proportional to
actually, no. I
my.
mean, many insurers, at least in the
Yeah.
U.S., are starting to do credit scoring, and they've been doing that for probably 20, 25 years, um, because it has been overwhelmingly proven that people with better credit have fewer
Hmm.
claims. They're a lot more. They figure if they're diligent as far as paying their bills on time and regularly, that they are going to be diligent in other aspects of their life. That they would, exercise a greater degree of care when they're operating a vehicle.
Hmm.
So that's been very controversial in the states,
Hmm.
just because it's like, well, what does that have to do with your exposure as far as risk? And everybody's like, well, they have found a lot of very strong correlations between the
Yeah.
two. It's not very popular, but yeah, I mean, it gets down to process environments to where you're going to have certainly the insurance carrier and yourself.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, if you're financing the vehicle, you're going to have a lien holder involved. At the same time, you're starting to have at least jurisdictions are starting to open up their APIs in cooperation with a lot of insurance carriers who will report when you renew your policy. They issue all the documents to you, but they also issue an electronic certificate to the state that
Hmm.
says, yes, this person is insured. This vehicle is insured. And in the states, insurance follows the vehicle, not the person. So
Hmm.
if you have, so if you loan your brother-in-law your car to get some ice, for the party, and he has an accident, your insurance, because it's on your car, will be addressed, even though he was the one driving.
Yeah.
So it was what they call permissive use. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of variables involved, and coordinating communication between everybody involved,
Yeah.
um, becomes a lot more. So that's what we run into. But every time that you renew, because sometimes certain carriers will only write auto policies for 6 months,
Yeah.
and we'll just rubber stamp renew you, but that gives them the opportunity to review, you know, your driving record, and if you have any claims.
Right.
So
But that will happen with your existing providers, right? That would not happen with a new provider I may be trying to switch to.
now, healthcare, when you're talking about provider,
Yeah,
a lot of that, it's generally fairly easy. The main question that comes into play is this new provider in network or out of network
yeah,
within your provider directory and stuff, because you're going to be reimbursed at a much higher rate if that provider is in network. And that actually becomes pretty tricky because, say you have a certain medical procedure, you may know how many providers are involved. So say you have a colonoscopy, and you're going to think you're going to have your gastroenterologist who will probably be performing the procedure. But a lot of people don't think about that. You're going to have the anesthetist that's going to give you the sedation for that, and they're going to bill twice because they'll bill for the service and they'll bill for the medication. But a lot of people don't understand that there's a lab that's going to be interpreting your results. There's going to be a courier service to take your samples to and from the lab. You want to make sure all those providers are in your network as well.
yeah.
So,
Agree.
there's a higher level of responsibility on your part as the patient,
Hmm.
just to assure all of that. And it is worth your while because the difference can be hundreds of dollars, maybe even
Hmm.
thousands.
Yeah,
So depending on but a lot of people are like, I didn't even know these people were, I didn't even know that these people were providing any service to me. And I'm like, yeah, anything that provides service, it doesn't have to be a human. It can be the building, your
yeah.
clinic can be considered a provider as well. So
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. So those are some of the things that Shailesh, we keep looking for. These are opportunities to start baselining or using ZKP. Zero knowledge proofs is the new buzzword, and we believe at Baseline that this is the new thing which is going to change the way uh, multi-party workflows work. So today's conversation has been awesome, but we're trying to restrict our show duration to like 45 minutes. So what I'll do is I will just ask you some concluding questions around what do you feel is uh, you know what do you think is can be the immediate opportunities for a solution like Baseline? I mean, it's a protocol. Applications have to adopt it and start baselining. So it will be the same applications, the same systems that we use, just built in a different way to start synchronizing their data fields without really exchanging data. So I will synchronize two fields that these are in sync without sharing data.
I think I personally think, given the data which has has to exchange hands,
Hmm.
and given the privacy element of it, health or insurance is a big
Yeah,
opportunity. Because banking, we've seen the payment gateways, how fast they've been on adoption,
yeah,
how fantastically it does help everyone. Insurance, some progress has been there, but then I'm sure we've got a lot we can get out of it.
awesome,
Probably
awesome.
another one is feedback, or probably the reputation management. Make another opportunity where, uh, as a consumer, I think you got to have something you can rely upon.
Hmm.
And if there were to be a platform which could be, I could, I've got multiple sources of feedback. Let's say I could look up a Google review, and then I
Yeah,
could look up Amazon review, and they're both very different for the same
yeah,
product. Yeah. So how do I vet actually as an end user that, okay, which should I? How do I make my buying decision?
yeah.
So things like that.
This is very interesting because few days back, and I was talking to somebody who was a CTO at a big e-commerce company, and he was exactly talking about this. That one of the issues that these guys face is fake reviews and bot reviews, and people are literally like paying like 5 rupees for reviews, and they just or they sell empty packages and they get just to get transaction numbers on an item and add some reviews, pay their friends, add reviews. So he was like, yeah, I want to have proof of purchase, but I also don't want to reveal the guy's identity and the items he bought and what he bought and when he bought, etc. So that is exactly where I was saying that yeah, you could have a privacy protected way of sharing that information or sharing that proof of purchase using ZKP and potentially
And if I
KP.
were to add, the positive side of things, I mean, not exactly, probably not out of context here. Uh, Essentially, if you could have, let's say, a feedback system or probably a layer or a protocol, which could essentially let me feed in my feedback,
Yeah,
which could let me identify what is the issue. Is it the
yeah,
packing? Is it the pricing? Is it the after service? So those sort of things.
right, right. Agree, agree.
And then or there has to be an auto trigger that okay, the moment I identify okay, this is the pain point for me,
Hmm.
system system has to take care of itself that okay, who is our vendor for this shipment, consignment number, batch number, things like that. So you
Right,
don't really have to recall Tesla.
right. And let me stop you there. Don't give out $1 million ideas on my show. Super. So, thank you so much, Shalish, once again for agreeing to be on the show today. At such a short notice. I truly believe you will take back something from us as well. And I also appeal to you, please connect us with more people who can potentially contribute to the baseline protocol. We are looking for people from all walks of life, from marketers to researchers to students to bankers and software professionals who can come in and start building stuff as part of the core devs team. Mark leads a very successful outreach team within Baseline. And we're doing tons of stuff. We are also approving grants. There's a huge major update for people who may be watching this show. Major update and major upgrade to this show, which is coming very very soon. So tons of things in store for us within Baseline. Thank you once again, Shailesh, and thank you all for who are watching us today or in future. This is Samrat signing off. We bring you the Baseline show in India every Thursday at 6 p.m. See you next week.